Back to the daily grind, and y'all know we gotta talk about this. But before we do, make sure you hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Like, oh my god. Paige Vanzant, former UFC strawweight, now UFC female flyweight, is opening up on her horrific weight cuts prior to moving up to strawweight. Holy smokes, like, oh my god, if it wasn't for the UFC being the highest level of mixed martial artists in the world, you would totes think that Paige Vanzant was one of the weakest chicks you've ever saw. And I'm talking about, like, let's take this back to high school. Yeah, there. Oh my god. Oh, I just felt so fucking gay. Pause. Paige Vanzant, bro, let's get into this fucking video. Oh, Paige Vanzant has opened up with BBC, Big Black Cock. What is it? What is the BBC? Somebody told me. Whenever I see BBC, I'm sorry, I think Big Black Cock. Pause. But I think it's actually a news organization in another country. I believe England, the British BC. I don't know what the BC stands for, so we're just going to assume it's Black Cock. Paige Vanzant, let's get into the story. She spoke with the BBC, and she said that she was giving herself an eating disorder while trying to make 115 pounds. Now, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm not going to dive too deep into this like I could, because it's Paige Vanzant. Who really gives a fuck? She's a cool person. She's going to, be a face of the, MMA and stuff. She might do commentating. You might see her on Dancing with the Stars. You might see her smiling on a milk carton. We get it. She's marketable. She's going to be a big star. But when you're talking about one of the baddest fighters on the planet, that might not be the case as of today. And we're just talking about, title contention. If you're just talking about a badass, yeah, Paige Vanzant's a badass, totally. She fought in the UFC, multiple divisions, had some bad weight cuts, broke her arm in one of her fights, kept fighting. Yeah, she's a fucking badass. But at first glance, fuck no. At first glance, when you see, if I walked up, me and someone else walked up and we run into Paige Vanzant and someone else, you're just not going to assume this chick fights in the UFC, and she's literally kicking ass. I remember that one time, not too long ago, she, did that jumping front kick. I think it was over Beck Rawlings and, got the KO. What? What? You don't even see those knockouts. So for Paige Vanzant to get that, it was just, okay. She's earned her spot in the UFC for sure. But this is the problem. And this is a real problem for Paige Vanzant. She said she was giving herself an eating disorder just trying to cut to 115 pounds. And we saw when she fought at 125 pounds versus a fighter that wasn't even ranked, making their UFC debut, Jessica Rose Clark beat Paige Vanzant. Not only did she beat her in that fight and gave Paige Vanzant her first loss in the division that Paige Vanzant's going to be fighting at, Paige Vanzant also broke her arm. So you might be thinking, was Paige Vanzant, not drinking her milk going into the fight? That's not the case. She wasn't eating. It had nothing to do with milk and everything to do with protein. All right, that's just a joke. But still, you get the point though. Paige Vanzant broke her arm, lost to Jessica Rose Clark, and now in a new interview, she's saying she's not going back down to 115 pounds. And she said after she saw, if you guys recall, at UFC St. Louis, which is actually where Paige Vanzant fought Jessica Rose Clark in her last fight, where she lost and broke her arm, that's the same card Vitor Belfort was supposed to fight Uriah Hall. That fight was canceled. The co-main event of that card was canceled because Uriah Hall had a terrible weight cut. They said he almost had a heart attack, he had a seizure and stuff. Paige Vanzant was there and said that was the scariest thing I've ever saw. Prayers for Uriah Hall. So she was there whenever she saw that. And now she's saying after seeing him go through that just because of a weight cut, she said that was enough for me. I'm never making the weight cut again. And now that's interesting because whenever she was watching Uriah Hall do that, she was actually only going down to 125 pounds. She was at her new weight class. So it's win or lose. I don't care if I win or lose against Jessica Rose Clark. I'm not cutting to 115 pounds again. And that's interesting because we saw Paige Vanzant's probably not going to be a top 5 or even a top 10 fighter at 125 pounds. It's possible, especially right now. It's a brand new division. But she lost to an unranked fighter making their UFC debut, Jessica Rose Clark, who we now know of, who's got 2 wins in the UFC now. She very well deserves her spot. Jessica Rose Clark's a talented fighter. But with that being said, Paige Vanzant was already in the top 10 and the top 15 of the UFC strawweight rankings. Now she moved up to a division because she said she had a terrible weight cut. It was giving her eating disorder. So she's got to fight at 125. She's not going back to 115. She already fought at 125. So all that being said, what this means is Paige Vanzant might not fight again in the UFC. And if she does, it might be a one-off or a two-off thing. But it doesn't look like Paige Vanzant's going to be coming back for a title shot anytime soon. It doesn't look like she's going to be trying to make a prolonged run unless she tries to, make a serious run at the 125-pound division. But in order to do that, she's going to have to first climb to the top 15, then maybe even get a rematch with Jessica Rose Clark, to get to the top 10, and then you're starting to talk about the top 5, where we're talking about the Valentina Shevchenkos of the world. And I don't think Paige Vanzant, you know what I'm saying? if your road to the title has to go through Valentina Shevchenko, that's probably where a lot of these girls' roads are going to end, because Valentina Shevchenko has the potential to be a long-time reigning champion at 125 pounds. And if Paige Vanzant's not ever going back down to 115, she's going to have to be there. So we'll see what happens. Will Paige Vanzant ever be a UFC champion? Probably not. But she's going to be one of the biggest UFC stars, for sure. And stuff like this, man, you know what I'm saying? She's like the little white sister none of us ever had. Some of us had one. But you know what I'm saying? Like, she's just super, oh my God. Like, she's the little cheerleader chick, like the popular girl. Like, that's Paige Vanzant. She's cool, she's popular, she's cute, so everybody's going to like her. But as far as fighting, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the weight cuts. The weight cuts. With that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments about Mrs. Paige Vanzant giving herself an eating disorder. And I actually saw the place where she did the interview with, I believe, the BBC. The big headline said, Paige Vanzant says the UFC gave her an eating disorder. I was like, oh shit. Is Paige Vanzant going against the UFC? I'm just playing, but it was a bold headline, the UFC gave her an eating disorder. But Paige Vanzant saying, no, I was giving myself an eating disorder, trying to make the weight for the UFC. It's kind of the same thing. You get the point. With that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
Da 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 da! It's the motherfucking D-O-double-G!